Now, say that again.
Well, one of the things that you mentioned that for religion, as far as religions are concerned, would be to allow people to just use the hue, no matter what religion they are.
Right, because it's going to help bring experience about what they believe in into their lives. And what isn't true will be dropped away, and what is true will be reinforced. They'll actually start to gain experience about what it is they're trying to do. Because if they die simply on faith and believing it's something some minister told them to believe in, then they're going to be dying in doubt, no matter how strong they believe their faith is. They really won't know with certainty from their own experience what the supreme source is, God, Jesus, whatever. Whoever it is, whatever they have faith in, whether it's Allah or Buddha, any of these things, they need to have direct experience, because that's the thing that gives them confidence not to reincarnate here. Otherwise, when they pass away, that fear, that subconscious fear, that lack of experience is going to end up putting them right back here on earth, unconscious in another body. And what they don't realize is how many times they've already been doing that, following the same faith, life after life, and they keep thinking they're going to go to some permanent heaven. There isn't any way the upper worlds, what they call heavens, could work that way. To have inexperienced, childish people come there because they believe in something and then wreak havoc with their unconscious fear and these other realities. They're not prepared to be co-creators with the source. And the purpose of a human being, any one of us, is to get to a point in consciousness where we can be co-creators with that source, not co-worshippers of it. You don't put the source behind all life on a pedestal. It does not want that.
You know, one of the things I thought about when you say
You
that.
can introduce your show, because we're on live.
Oh, well, yes. Hi, this is Free Range. We just started talking about some important matters, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm here with Scott Lemriel, and
Hi.
we're
We're chatting about not putting religions down of any kind. Not really. That's not what we're doing. But when I work with this first sound behind all creation in many religious or spiritual books, it's called the first word. But it's not a spoken or written word. It is a frequency or an energy vibration that existed before time and space was made in the lower dimensions. And we are comprised of this same energy, the same as the source, what people think is of as the supreme being. We, as individual souls or Atmas, we are co-creators with it, and we're made of exactly the same energy. It's not nuclear, it's not electrons and protons or atoms. It is an energy field that supports and envelops all that exists, all universes, all planets, all the different dimensions. And there are beings who run the mechanics of that creation that people on Earth don't know anything about, haven't a clue.
Well, that's what we're here for, huh, Scott?
Well, if the more people know, depending on whatever their faith is, they need to have a way to have direct experience about what they believe in, so that their faith, instead of just dying on faith, they pass away knowing. Knowing certainty is way beyond faith, because then you're directly dealing with the source, co-creating with it. And that's the purpose of a human being. All these incarnations in the ultimately are so that people can become trusted co-creators with that source. Somebody has to run all those universes and things. People are being trained. The experiment of evil in the lower dimensions, good and bad, positive, negative, is a failed experiment. I don't care who you talk to or who believes what. It is a failed experiment in creation. It didn't work. It was designed to get beings, to motivate them to get away from evil and, start respecting and loving all life. But it was so effective, it really trapped people in it. In positive and negative use of the imagination, which splits them in half. They're putting out imaginations of, I want great things for my family, but there's going to be the end of the world. That splits them in half, their imagination from the spherical core of their being, which isn't the human brain or body, starts putting out an energy field telling this divine spirit, we want good and bad things to happen. And it just co-creates it around them, traps them. And the core, tyrants know this, so they try to get and manipulate beings on a subconscious level to get them to imagine in two ways at once, good and bad. Always about the future. fear of the future, fear of leaving their body, fear of death, fear of this, fear of that, because they are deluded into believing that they are physical bodies. They've been made to forget that they aren't anything to do with it. They aren't a physical body. They never have been, but they run them unconsciously, thinking they are a body that can grow and die. So they die in that apprehension and fear. And that fear is negative, and it drives them right back here to reincarnate, or they'll meet with beings of a like mind who will convince them they need to come back here with no memory for their own good, and then bang, they're right back in another incarnation, probably following the same religion, trying to do it again. Doesn't work. You can't be saved by some being and then go off to some heaven with no training, no experience, and expect to play in paradise, because it's irresponsible and childish. It can't be done that way. There is no such other heaven that would allow that. Beings need to become advanced enough to be trusted to play in the multidimensional creation. That's what this work is about, to help them recover higher faculties that will allow them to do that, to complete that journey. Let's say when the hue crosses people's path, it's not owned by any organization on planet Earth, didn't get invented by anyone on this planet. It cannot be possessed, patented, or copyrighted by anyone ever, anywhere, because it isn't matter. It's not time and space. It's not space warps. It's not interdimensional doorways. It's not black holes. It's not dark matter in space. Which brings me to the point that dark matter in space, which they know is energy that fills the void of space between planets and galaxies and all these different realities. So even scientists on Earth know it's not dark. It's quite bright, but you can't see it with physical eyes because you have to look into a higher spectrum than physical human eyes are capable of seeing.
I saw it when we were on a journey.
Yeah. Yeah, you would, because the Atma, the real you, what soul is spherical, like a planet or a sun, because planets and suns are made in the image of their creators. The actual Atma or soul is not the physical body at all. Like what's above your head is a depiction, which you got from me, of what the soul really looks like. And the source behind all life looks like that too. We're exactly the same on a smaller scale, like a drop of pure water in a mighty ocean of that pure water. We always have been. Couldn't be otherwise, because the real being that runs physical bodies did not come into existence in time and space, or through bodies, or through space and time, or through the laws of physics. It precedes all of that, and always has. When beings start to become aware of what they are again, they start to be able to move that around in and out of bodies and get back to the business of being a co-creator with the source. That's it.
The reason we got so trapped was related to our subconscious programming that no one is really aware of either.
Yeah, but that didn't happen to people on planet Earth.
That's what people don't realize. They think that when you talk about subconscious programs, I notice this, they think you're talking about the years age 1 through 7. Now that's a whole different kind of programming, correct?
No, that's just the kind of brainwashing children get from their parents and from society and governments, who themselves are completely unconscious about how they got to be on this planet. They don't remember where they came from or what they knew before they were born here. The Illuminati, classified people, they're all the same. They may have an elite status for a lifetime or for a few years in these groups, but they get old and get sick and die of disease too. They pass it on to their offspring. It's just a classified system, basically of nonsense right now, because they're maintaining it past the point at which they should be to disclose the knowledge of the existence of extraterrestrials. This world and its people are ready for that. Everything will change here for the better for all those people and all the masses of people when they start to disclose the truth completely. We're at that point now. And it's necessary because they don't have, I'm talking about the classified space program and all that stuff, you know, the little reverse engineered anti-gravity craft, the technology they've gotten so far, much of it was given to them, they didn't earn it. They're never going to be allowed to really traverse the vast distances of outer space and play in the universe properly. the way they're lying to everyone on earth, the way they're deceiving themselves. And most of those people don't even want to do it anymore. They're tired of having to lie to everybody. It's just, most of them, including the generals in the services, don't really want to do it.
Yeah, I would think that would be a very hard burden to bear.
It would be a destructive, disease-causing pressure, burden I wouldn't want.
I wouldn't want it either.
No. So they're actually suffering in some ways more than the people they're lying to, deceiving. Not telling them where their tax dollars are going, and they have to keep it from the public because they're not mature enough to know better. Well, blah, blah, blah. The people holding it from the rest of the public aren't mature enough to keep it from the public. It's just arrogance. It's just ego trips. And it's self-destructive to them, ultimately. If they want to go out and play among the stars like they're touting to the public, let's go back to the moon. What? We went there, what, how many decades ago? And now it's like a big deal to go back, as if that's a big deal. They're keeping people in the dark about what they're using to get in space now in our solar system. It has nothing to do with rockets or the space shuttle, which they retired and don't even use anymore.
Not to mention how much money has been wasted.
The whole point of the National Security Act and classifying things in its original design was to disclose to the public the truth when they felt people wouldn't panic in the streets. It's way past that point now. There isn't going to be any great leap in science for people to go play among the stars with warp-driven Star Trek spaceships at all, radioactive, the way people on Earth are being governed, because the people out there will not tolerate it. It's not going to happen. Earth and our solar system is quarantined because the people on Earth right now are considered to be lunatics and quite dangerous. Subconsciously reactive with fear, striking out and fighting each other. Countries don't get along. We don't even have a planet of one government that's good for all. It's a requirement to step out and play among the stars.
Well, we got a long ways to go.
Well, no, yeah, on our own, an impossible task, the way people are on Earth. And that's the ruling class as well. But with help from friends from out of town, meaning off-world, who don't have subconscious minds and aren't implanted, who never got implanted out there during the war or after the Great Galactic War, they can help us make this change. And we're going to require their help to do it safely without destruction. People who are implanted on Earth, who run things now, would destroy this planet, making wrong decisions every single day, ultimately. And they tried to. If we were alone in the universe, we would all be dead now on this planet. And it wouldn't be the first time when life on the surface has been wiped out on this sphere. And it's real history, which goes back 65 million years to when the dinosaurs were made extinct, meaning beings being brought here from other worlds, human and otherwise. That history is completely suppressed in the consciousness of people on Earth. Even the elite don't remember it all, or much of it. They know there's a past that people on Earth aren't being given. They get that from extraterrestrials, good or bad. They know extraterrestrials exist in great numbers, mostly benevolent, a couple of tyrant races. And they've dealt with both, but mostly the tyrant ones, and they're getting out of that association now with tyrant races because they're being helped to get out of it, or they wouldn't make it. They'd have all been killed and replaced anyway.
So would it be safe to say that the tyrant races have been programmed negatively as well?
Of course, in a history, in galactic history, going back more than 500,000 years. And there, you know, what's underway off planet now is the deprogramming of them. Deprogramming, during the war, 500,000 years ago, they could have gone to the home worlds of the reptilians and other races that started that war, annihilated every last female and male, just annihilated their entire species. And in a way, they had a right to do it because they were nasty, diabolical, misdirected beings. But that isn't the way benevolent beings operate. They stopped them, made them surrender, and then set up a treaty and let them run their own worlds under certain conditions, policing it, you might say. They can go there and destroy their worlds, which means they were allowed to operate spacecraft and get around, sneak around the universe, capture political and other people when they're too far away to being protected, and they would still try to do nasty things to people and try to manipulate leaders on a world like Earth to try to get a hold of that planet, breaking an off-world treaty just shy of going to war every time. They're not stupid enough to go to war because they would lose again. But that doesn't mean tyrants don't behave in a very negative or sadistic manner, because they do. They're operating from a deep subconscious fear that drives them to dominate all of the races, particularly human, before the humans do it to them. That's how they're thinking. It's incorrect thinking, and it's manipulated thinking by even more diabolical races that captured them and used them as tools to go out and start this whole destructive crusade back then. And the beings that did that weren't even from this dimension. There's a history out there that people are terrified of remembering because they were caught and suffered before they were made to be on this planet with no memory. And they're afraid of looking at that. It's just a memory. It's not happening anymore. They can't be caught like that again out there. But they still relive it every day as if it could happen, and is happening even now. So they don't remember on Earth. They don't remember what their past lives were. They're afraid of getting out of their body because they think the devil will get them. The misguided priestcraft on this planet, many who are supported by tyrant royal families, still misguide people to fear. They get out of their body, which they're going to do when the body dies anyway. They're going to have to learn the truth. But by then, the Atma has a field of energy around it that was implanted there. And it will take that fear of everything with them when they die. And they'll be seeing and making decisions when they're out of body, no matter who they're met by, based on their not knowing and in doubt, and they'll make wrong decisions.
And this is why it's so important for people to exercise their creative imagination and use the hue, and then we have the ability to recall and to be triggered by...
No, we don't want to be triggered by anything. The vibration of the first half of the word human is hue. There's a reason for that. That didn't get created on Earth. The languages didn't get invented on this planet. Ever. Never. They were imported to this world from other planets long ago. In a history people have been made to forget. Not just about Earth, but the whole solar system, the whole galaxy. People on Earth think God sent them here as some kind of a being. They think that's this. And they're supposed to live a life out, and if you do the right faith, then you get to go to some heaven. Hang around, pick flowers all day, out in the field. What? Are they really so naive to believe that they're going to go off to some heaven, knowing nothing, with no experience, and they're going to be turned loose to play in the universe to just create havoc because they don't know what they're doing? No.
I think I misused the word trigger. What I meant was recall.
Mm-hmm.
Recall.
Well, the books, even what I've written, are interdimensional doorways. They're designed to channel the hue in a certain way from off-world, so that the effects that people have been brainwashed in growing up here, and their own efforts put into using their imagination properly, they have to get discipline of themselves to stop using the imagination in agreement with negative views of anything. Because as long as they're viewing anything that way, that's fear. It connects with other beings and other things viewing things, and it traps them in that frequency on it. It grounds them to this planet, to being a physical body, and they don't remember. Part of how implants work. Implantation was done to people by an extraterrestrial races that misused extraterrestrial technology they did not invent but captured and perverted. That's the actual history of how most people ended up on this planet. There's a supreme source. I don't want to say supreme because people have abused that to death.
The hierarchy.
Well, you got to worship that thing or it will send you to hell with a pitchfork up your rear end.
You know
that is the fear most people operate with. And tyrant kings, controlling priests, in the actual history of Earth, orchestrated that to keep people subject to them, not aware.
See,
Because if they were aware, no, if they were aware, they wouldn't worship any of those people. They wouldn't worship the source. They wouldn't worship the savior, because that's worship. Putting someone on a pedestal is the construction of tyrant beings to trap beings under their feet. The source itself, I go to it all the time. I'm telling you, the very source, way up beyond the void known to Buddhists, in the source, I go there every day and back and forth. And so should you, and so should everyone else. And it never encouraged or required or recommended that we worship it or else. The only thing that it puts out as an energy is respect itself, respect yourself, and respect all life. That's divine love. Nothing else, because most people operate what they think is divine love selfishly. They're not operating correctly. They should be busy venting and creating or doing things with intent and focus of consciousness that they can create that will be of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on earth, all life.
You know, it's funny that if you think about it, on planet Earth, you know, they think of their Father God as a supreme being. But if you think in terms of a father, what father have you ever known that would expect you to worship him? My father never expected me to worship him.
I think people on earth put out what they've been taught. And they just really ruin their children by making them have to do this, because otherwise the devil will get them. So they brainwash their own children. They don't dare let their children have a conscious experience, because then the kids will know more than their parents. And they won't be doing their religious duties, so they think. But they're really just operating to help trap the soul or the Atma in bodies on earth. And they don't even know they're doing it.
That's the sad part.
That's, well, I don't want to get into this past this point. I'm not interested whatsoever in debating any of this with anyone for any reason ever. I don't have time on this earth to do what I do with people from other worlds, other master teachers, to bring about a change for this planet. Debating any of this with people who are driven by subconscious fear about almost everything, particularly about the future. Yeah. There's still a lot of people on earth that want an Armageddon, because they think if they blow the planet up, then they go to some heaven.
Yes, yes.
It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Why would there be any source that required people become destructive towards each other or all life in order to go to heaven? That's asinine. It's ridiculous. It's insane. And it's psychotic. And it's fear-driven. And that's your populace of this earth for the most part right now. And none of them need to stay that way. Everybody on this planet once knew what that is above your head. And they've been made to forget it completely through fear, terror, usually through experiences that were not pleasant for them to go through when they lost the body. You can't destroy that. A hydrogen bomb couldn't hurt that at all, what we really are. But an energy field can be artificially put around it through which it looks and gets misdirected in seeing things in the way of it seeing clearly, that are terrify it to know what itself is that's that, and how to move it around creation. Because they're going to have to move it around creation whether they like it or not. When the body dies, they're going to have to get out of it and move, remember at least a little bit, until the fear that surrounds them drives them back to another body to forget everything, because they'll meet with people representing the source, claiming they're part of some hierarchy, and they'll encourage people in a nice way, so it would seem, to go back to Earth and reincarnate with no memory out of kindness so that they can get it right. That's a trap. And the beings telling them that are misdirected themselves. It doesn't work. And this has been going on for millions of years.
They say, we're here to learn lessons.
Not really so much that, no. We're here to discover new ways of creating things that will be of an uplifting benefit to all life. You've got to think of ourselves as spiritual scientists. We're supposed to learn how to co-create. We're down in these forms on these different planes. We were never meant to be unconscious in a body thinking we're a body. That's a long history of what that got us to this point. That doesn't just have to do with tyrant extraterrestrials. It has to do with beings that run entire dimensions above the physical, who are themselves tyrants. Wow. That people worship. And you got to get above the lower worlds or positive and negative plays to co-create new ways of doing things that can be brought to the lower worlds and actually change them. There isn't any other way. So it makes sense that people become aware of what they are and how to get around, how to recall the higher worlds that they came from before they started incarnating or running bodies here. Otherwise, you can't change anything. So
is the experiment of evil being retired through people being helped?
Conscious, right, because they're being done through people recovering who they are. And those numbers are adding into trillions of other beings that are already free of this subconscious stuff. And they're moving through the universe and from different dimensions, and Earth is right in the way of that flow. There are people running classified systems on this planet today that know something's moving this way, and they are not going to ever have any power to prevent or alter that. They can get in harmony with it and be benefited by it, yes, along with everyone else, but not the way they are now. They will never be able to take advantage of it until they're, let's just say, confronted, approached, uplifted by beings from other worlds who don't have subconscious minds. When they're out of their body at night, when their body's in the dream state, they call sleep, they are out of their bodies and they don't remember it. They're not taught that on Earth. They're not taught anything on Earth to bring back awareness of or use higher faculties to bring back what they're doing when their body's asleep, because they're out of it. And they identify with the body, come back to it in the morning, just as unconscious as the body, and go, oh, I don't remember anything. Or I had a bad dream, or I had a wonderful dream of flying in a physical body. And they think they made it up in their brain and their head. They didn't. They were actually there doing that. The more aware people become of this while they have a physical body, that's where enlightenment comes into the picture. That's where real love and respect for all life starts to manifest through that being, through that body, to all life. It cannot do that if the being running a body on Earth is not aware of the life that exists beyond Earth out in the multidimensional universe. How can you respect all life if you don't know hardly anything about all life on Earth? And all you think is this is what, that's all there is on this planet, one little planet.
I know.
They wonder, is there life on other planets? I don't remember. And I'm afraid to remember.
There aren't any aliens.
Because it's terrorizing to them to remember. Beings from other worlds and different people that are highly trained and skilled know how to get people out of these subconscious knots they're in. But it takes enough raise in vibration and awareness in a person on Earth to voluntarily, a free will, co-create with these people. They co-create helping you get out of the trap. They don't just do it to you and wave a magic wand and bing, you're done. Because people wouldn't regain anything, they wouldn't learn anything. If they had all these higher faculties turned on and all their awareness of lives, and they didn't know how to handle it in a human body they grew up with on Earth, it would short out the nervous system. They'd die from the experience. Tyrants know that too. So they need help and protection in the hue, the new ray in the hue in particular, to help them go through this even while they're alive on Earth and recover these higher abilities and knowing and faculties. They need a safe way to do it. Cannot do it on their own on Earth.
And
that's not possible. The technology, the science, the understanding, the spirituality of it doesn't exist on Earth yet. It has to be brought here from beings who live it, know it, understand it. They go up on worlds being trained from birth, from governments and their parents, to leave their bodies and remember their other existences. Growing up, running a body, that's a completely different experience on a planet like that, where they're not lied to or deceived. Earth is not a normal human planet. It never has been. Others are, and Earth needs to step up and take its place. To do that, people on Earth need to work together collectively, all the people on Earth, in a one world kind of government that is run by their most advanced, respectful, loving people, not the way it's run now. And they can have all this technology and everything they need, even ships, and how to run them, provided at no cost. And they can play among the stars, but not the way we are now. That's why this Earth and the solar system is quarantined. They're not going to be allowed to play among the stars the way they are now. They would bring their destructive, fear-driven the pilots, the military out in space, and they'd start firing the first thing they didn't understand. People on Earth are known to be quite reactive, destructive, dishonest, and they can't take that kind of stuff out in space and play among the other races because they're far more advanced than us. They're not going to allow it. So we come to a crossroads for the people on this planet now. We are at that crossroads. There is no future for this planet and its people stepping out in space the way this world's run now. There isn't one, and there never will be. That means people on Earth need to change and step up to bat, get out of this habit of deception, dishonesty they're in, and let go of it. Because it's a burden to the people doing it, it's a burden to the people they're doing it to. And it just retards and holds back the potential of this planet to take its place among the stars. We're speaking just in the physical universe now. I'm not even talking about all the other dimensions that normal people from other worlds are aware of and travel to out of their bodies. They travel in ships for the benefit of lesser evolved races, but they can also travel directly without those ships as normal beings.
When they say we're dumbed down, we were really dumbed down.
Oh, Earth is an enigma because it is exceptionally dumbed down. Mainly because of where it was placed as a world in a treaty that was signed 500,000 years ago at the end of a great war. There's been no war out in space. People are talking about it on the internet. And there's battles going on in space. No, there isn't. No, there's not. There's no evidence whatsoever on this planet there's war going on out in space. Because if there were, it would have intersected this planet, and everybody claiming that would be dead right now, or eaten, or abused, or dominated, or something. There's no war out there, but there is a Cold War of a sorts that's coming to an end. Tyrant races sneak around trying to get more property and planets and capture beings for slaves, and every now and then they get away with a little bit of it. But when they're caught, they usually have ships shot down, even in our atmosphere. And people here recover it, reverse engineer the stuff, make a treaty with tyrants to get extraterrestrial technology. They're being lied to and deceived. They were, because they don't have any interest in making an elite on the planet more elite. They just want to use them, then kill them. That's the way they are. So you got to understand that nobody on this planet would have made a treaty with tyrant races. It was against their better judgment. I don't care who they are. They did it because they were being manipulated with a technology they didn't know was being used on them to make decisions against their better judgment. That has been policed and stopped a number of times where Earth and everybody on it would be dead right now. Dead, gone. Nuclear war, finished, long time ago. People wonder if we're alone in the universe. Do they really think that men who actually set off hydrogen bombs in our own atmosphere, sending radioactive particles everywhere on the Earth, that would actually do that just to have a weapon, would also be trusted not to push the button if they had them? Of course not. They did. They tried on both sides.
Wow.
We haven't gone up to nuclear war, but not because of men on this planet, because they were stopped from space. Launch computers were shut down.
What do they think about that when that happens?
Well, they're going to classify it. They're going to tell the public that they don't have control of their own weaponry if some race from the stars wants to stop them.
But doesn't it make
Wait a minute. Gail, come on. Do you really think they're going to tell the public that?
Well, no. But wouldn't you think that within themselves and within the classified section that they would have to think about that a little more?
Not when you're driven subconsciously against your will, no. Why would you think they would think about it a little more?
Well, because it didn't work.
You're acting as if they have free consciousness. Think it through. They wouldn't make rational decisions, would they? They're not free. They're implanted on purpose. Why would they make rational decisions? Do other people on Earth make rational decisions based on their faith or their religion? Do you see any of that having changed the condition of this planet one iota in thousands of years? No, not at all.
I used to say it never seems to me what.
So, people have nothing. I don't blame people on this earth. I don't care if they're classified or the Queen of England or whoever they are for being like they are, because they have been manipulated without their consent at some point in their past, or they wouldn't be on this planet, not knowing what they are that isn't this, and not remembering what they knew out in the universe. You can go to any royal family person on this planet, I don't care who they are, and ask them what they were when they were in another life or all these other dimensions. They don't know. And they'd be terrified if you asked them. So you really can't blame, I really don't blame people in classified arenas for doing the things they've done up till now, because they don't even want to be doing what they're doing. Sometimes they just can't help themselves. They need to get into a trusting place within themselves, and then trust beings that can help them who are not from Earth, because that's where the answer lies. It is not on this planet. It comes from other worlds that have solved these kind of problems hundreds of millions of years ago or longer. If you want to get advantage of that, you have to embrace a larger reality. And they have certain ways that they tolerate what bringing people in, and ways they will not, for constructive, common sense reasons. There isn't going to be any Earth planet going out in the stars with intergalactic spaceships with ray beams and nuclear weapons to play among the stars, because we're not going to be allowed to do it. They're outlawed outside of Earth, nuclear, radioactive materials. Get them out of a lead container, they kill everybody. What race with any common sense would use such an energy source? It's not only expensive, it's dangerous, and it doesn't work to get you across faster than the speed of light between stars. It's rocketry? Are you kidding?
It does seem very primitive.
You can't do it. Let me put it this way. To get from here to 400 light years from here, about where the Pleiades is, for instance, to get there in a day, you cannot do it in any kind of the nonsense they're telling the public is our latest technology is this rocket stuff. No, it isn't. It's classified what they're doing, and it's not shown to the public. And it doesn't deal with rockets. And they do launch payloads into space now, but not on rockets. And they can play around the backside of the moon and maybe on Mars, but that's even in one parallel dimension. They can't even go to another parallel dimension in the physical universe, because the doorways interdimensionally between them are guarded.
Okay.
They're not going to be allowed to do it. And they already know that. So there's a block in the way of their progressing further the way we are on this planet. And that block should be there, because people on Earth are dangerous. If they're not free thinkers and they're driven by subconscious misdirection, they're going to go out there and cause destruction and havoc.
Could you explain how, you've said it before, but just for the sake of the audience too, how we don't have free will that we think we have?
Let's put it this way.
Okay.
If the heads of royal families in this planet, there are very few left. There are beings who don't claim themselves to be royalty, who act like they are in a classified arena at the highest level, who have the control of the money and the tax dollars they coerce out of everybody without your say in the matter, and all of that. That's all classified. When you think about anyone on this earth who is here on any level, who does not remember who they are that isn't the physical body and how to move it around the multidimensional universe, they are not operating and could not be operating from true free will. No way. Because they don't remember. You cannot use the higher faculties of creativity in the universe with others in any field of negative stream of energy, emotionally or mentally. That field of energy, that omnipresent force, that first word, the hue that sustains the entire physical creation that exists in the void of space as a brilliant field of light, white light and a gold tinge in it, everywhere. Supports everything's floating in it. You cannot co-create with that with negative streams of thought or emotion. You can only co-create with other beings who are tyrants in negative streams of thought and emotion. And they'll be happy to trap you and continue to trap you as long as you put energy in their direction. Beings trap themselves by misusing their creative imagination, which is not made up in the brain. There's nothing in the human brain that has a camera and a motion picture projection screen for you to imagine anything. There's nothing in here that does that. People don't stop to think about this. So when they're sitting with their eyes open, looking out a window, daydreaming about being on another planet, or maybe what it was like to be in Lemriel, or maybe they're looking out the window and imagining what it was like to be at the beach instead of in school, being bored to death, by someone who just teaching, who doesn't even care about teaching them facts about this or that they're never going to use to survive in life, very likely. So people daydream, and when they're daydreaming, they think when they're looking out for their physical eyes open, the eyes are only seeing what's out the window. But the real being is seeing what they're imagining, and that's nothing to do with their physical body at all. True free will comes from knowing what that is. And if people on earth do not remember what that is, they don't know what higher faculties of creation are or how to access them. I don't care how powerful, how much money they have, or where they are on this earth. They are trapped. And usually under the control of some being they'd rather not be trapped by. And often that's off-world. So they're left with this program now. The tyrants have been extricated from this planet. There are no more little abductions with gray guys taking people aboard and abusing them. It doesn't happen anymore. People don't even know that yet. They're still talking about stuff that happened 20, 30 years ago. It doesn't happen anymore. But they're left with the program that misdirects their thinking, and that's destructive. It's the programs, the implant is not in the skin or in the brain. You'll never find it there, because they're not thinking about where it is. It's around the being, which is not made of matter, and the field of energy around it is molecular, nuclear. It's a construct through which the being looks, not knowing. And that has to be dealt with in people on earth, or they're never going to remember who they are. So people of earth need a great deal of help from the beings that live beyond this planet in great numbers in order to change this planet in time, in order to head it in a new direction. Now, that decision, fortunately, to do that for the first time in all galactic history has been made off planet about this world. Not just Earth, but many others as well. That's fortunate. Now, when people on Earth start to become aware of this fact, they will start adding their own co-creative zeal and zest for life into this and help it happen more quickly. That's going to require all the people on this planet waking up out of this dream. It's going to take massive help from beyond this earth to pull that off. People on earth are not awake enough anymore to access higher faculties to change anything. They're going to need help from beings who are kind, that don't put themselves on ego trips, that aren't going to lord it over anyone. That's what my work is about. And it's only about that. So it's not threatening. It's not about harming anyone on earth. It's not about harming an elite or classified people. It's not about harming royal families, or it's about getting them all set free from this fixated nonsense and terror subconscious drives that make them behave the way they do and keep this place stuck, really stuck. Earth no longer, it's at a place where it can no longer operate under the status quo, because that would have annihilated the earth already if people from outside had just let people on earth do whatever they want, because they would have blown the place up. They tried many times, and it was stopped. When they start telling people on earth the truth about this, when people on earth understand that they themselves, these leaders, were abusively programmed, the hatred and revenge just goes away. It won't be there. Yeah. But it has to be done so that as they're getting free of this and telling the people the truth, the people are also getting free enough to accept it. and acknowledge it in themselves. That's why the Savior's Agenda book, it is not psychic. It's not from the lower planes. But the later part of it is about the future that has not happened yet here, obviously. But it's underway. That is something that cannot be reversed by anything on this planet or anyone for their own good, really. No one's going to be hung and shot and all this stuff through this process. No, because what was done to these elite on this planet was done to the elite because they were the most arrogant, the most uppity, the most controlling. You want a tyrant race, you get control of that elite small group of people. You get them to control elected people, and then you get them to control the populace. That's how tyrants from other worlds, they want to keep a massive number of people like we have on Earth, way overpopulated, working so they can get the resources out, manufactured, and shipped off world to get antiquated extraterrestrial technology under a treaty for more than 65 years. And it's a deceptive, dishonest treaty. In the end, tyrants would have just wiped everybody out here. Certainly the leaders they made an agreement with, they would have killed violently and laughed about it. That's the agreement these people made. And they know it was not a good agreement. They couldn't help themselves. So they've had beings from other worlds get in, start working with them to acknowledge that the benevolent races out there aren't the threat the tyrant races said they were. It's the tyrant races that were doing them wrong. They have been moved away from this planet. Now you've just got a bunch of people misprogrammed, running governments and things. That would end the world by itself without any extraterrestrial involvement at this point. And it's headed, technically, kind of, people would say headed in that direction, but actually it isn't. I'll give you an example of what I mean. When the Fukushima disaster happened and 3 out of 4 plants blew their tops right off, and these 15-foot high nuclear rods that would kill everybody were thrown out in the air onto the ground. Should have killed everybody in Japan.
That's what I thought.
Much of China, Western United States, just that's how bad that one accident was. It wasn't an accident. The radiation was coming towards the northwestern United States in plumes within the ocean water at 60 rads and climbing. Deadly. And it was going to hit the shore here. At the time, governor of the state allowed for free testing for people to test the water. And you could send a water test to labs and have it analyzed. So where we knew those 60 rads was climbing. And then one day, it vanished from the ocean. You think militaries on Earth did that? No. That's the kind of thing that happens that people aren't told. And only one person, as I understand it, died from radiation sickness in the whole Fukushima accident, working inside, with suits on and all that. The people that died, I think 7,000, was it 15,000 or 7,000? I don't remember how many exactly. Died from the tsunami that drowned them, not from the accident itself. Something prevented that from killing the people that would have. Now, why would a benevolent races from the stars allow people purposefully running nuclear power plants at 10 times the cost of natural gas right now to play among the stars with that kind of nonsense? Well, they're not going to. Would you?
Nope.
No. So this is just kind of a common sense deal. It's neat. They got nuclear bombs. Well, they got hydrogen bomb technology illegally given to them from off planet to Hitler's scientists. And then they absorbed that at the end of the war and pardoned these creeps who murdered millions of people in slave labor and made them the heads of secret organizations, espionage organizations, classified programs, because they were getting extraterrestrial technology and getting some advances, like how to make an atomic bomb. None of the people on Earth earned it. It was illegally provided to some scientists in Germany by a tyrant race that were run by an even more tyrant race, illegally providing it here, and then it had to be countered. Now it's been stopped out among the stars, and Earth is left with the predicament that it has this subconscious misprogramming done to people here illegally. And it was done to many who were brought here as slaves by tyrant races under treaty in Earth's ancient past. Little places on Earth where they could do mining and they could do their little thing. At the end of the war, Earth was made like a Switzerland, hands off. No extraterrestrial race has been allowed to dominate this world, good or bad. It's been caught in the middle like this for a very long time. The other problem with Earth is the poles flip, or did, every 100,000 years like clockwork, destroying all life on the surface. And it had to be recolonized under treaty, again and again. This is a history people don't know. They have the capability to know it, but not as long as they're running fear. Subconscious fear will keep them from using and knowing their higher faculties of direct knowing perception. The ability to look into the universe as the Atma, what's above your head there, and see and know things across time and space, even in the upper worlds, for themselves. Certainty, no doubt, no fear, no speculation, no debate, no theory. Those are all negative. They keep people stuck. They're negative. Negative emotions and their drives are artificially created. They are not actually a part of the Atma's true emotional nature. Negative things. That had to be hornswoggled into people and hoodwinked into people without their consent. This was done in multidimensional and galactic and Earth history. It's undoable. It can be undone, but it requires the co-creative, conscious, free will decision of the person who wants to get the help from beings who can help them do it. Only tyrants force anything on anyone, wave a magic wand and give you something with the pretense it'll be permanent when it never is. They want something from you. They're not telling you about it. So I will tell people the truth on these little radio shows. And it's done because there's a knowing certainty involved here for the benefit of all people on this earth, not just people. Mammals, plants, animals, fish, every living thing on this earth is being sent a new energy that's helping to raise the vibration of this place, which has to be done so that this planet can change safely without destruction, without people freaking out. And nobody wants people rioting in the streets when they're told the truth about extraterrestrial life. And right now, people wouldn't riot in the streets. They have to be informed about this in a way that's in harmony with in co-creative harmony with the beings who are helping to transform this planet, who can bring the technology, beings, and expertise here to do it. And it's got to be done co-creatively. The people on Earth need to recover enough of who they are to want this. I certainly know none of them want what they're living like now on this earth. No one, not a single person I meet really wants it the way it is. In a mass of people or in the classified or government arena, nobody wants it like this anymore. And they don't have to continue to live like this. Just arrogance and ego, nonsense driven by fear keeps people from inviting kind beings from the stars that have way more advanced in these ways, who would share it openly with us, free of any charge or cost. It doesn't even involve trade. People on Earth don't realize that quite yet. They always think in terms of this artificial thing called money, and trillions of dollars have to be spent. What do we got to give them in gold bullion to get this? No, that's not how it works. Because the advanced races out there have made money illegal. They don't even use it. They don't trade. If someone was to barter out there, someone with all the cows, and the rest of the planets have no cows, guess who's going to be in control?
Exactly.
It's not going to work because it's selfish. People in more advanced races don't work that way. They co-create, go to school, they learn how to be scientists, they create new things because they're inspired collectively to come up with new ways of doing things that will benefit not just the race on their planet, all the planets that are in an organization with them. And right now, in just half of this galaxy, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of worlds that are spacefaring, that are part of one organization. And the other half, which is even larger, which are kind beings, there's even more. And they've just recently done this. There's nowhere else for Earth to go now, except in a new direction. People have to grow up now and stop being petty little, to live a life thinking you're a body is selfish because you want to protect this at the expense and cost of others around you. It's fear-driven. When that goes away and people aren't worried about food and taking care of this body, and they can awaken to what they're supposed to be doing in relationship to all the rest of the life on this planet, all the rest of the life on this planet will change. That's the way it really works. When the creative imagination coming from the Atma starts to work collectively with vast hosts of beings in a certain direction, it only works one way and one way only. It does not involve positive and negative, good and bad and greed and all that. It can't and it won't. When people start joining in with that, then they start to be co-creators with others to change their own world and to live an entirely wondrous, different life than they've known here. Begin to remember what they once knew on other worlds and other existences. They begin to remember their long journey from the higher worlds down to the lower worlds. And they came down into the lower worlds knowing what they were, that is not physical matter, and ran bodies, knowing they weren't trapped in them. That has to be recovered in people. It's just common sense. And if that's done in a way that's beneficial to all life here, so be it. The motivations of beings from other worlds dealing with change in this place is not like the selfish motivations of fear-driven people who run this planet now. It isn't. They'll never be able to get this mixed with all of this, the way this is. This has to change first. That's real disclosure. It isn't just about telling people the truth, it's about changing to live it with beings, vast hosts of beings from other worlds and other realities, and the master teachers that teach them, who travel between the different dimensions. I work with them all the time. People on Earth don't even remember they exist. But they can. They have the ability, but not as a body. No. Their brain and their body that grew up on this earth never had recorded in it anything dealing with all that out there. So why should they know it? The being that runs that body and that brain, however, has recorded in its different layers, in these teardrop shapes, faculties that have all that information there suppressed. It needs to be turned back on. There are genomes on the DNA of human beings on Earth that were deliberately shut down, shut off, like switches. They're just switches. And if you're a tyrant race, you shut off the one for longevity. Oh, let's make the humans we've enslaved live 80 years when we live 800. Normal humans live at least 1,000 or more. Capture them, you shut them down below you. Oh, let's shut off their photographic memory. They'll learn too much too fast. And let's give them intuition. Let's shut off their conscious knowing that they're telepathic. Otherwise, they could telepathically hear advanced beings leading them out of this trap. So that's what tyrants did to people. They shut down genomes on the twin-stranded DNA of human beings on Earth that they used to think was junk DNA isn't. It's just not working. Oh, gee, humans on Earth use 6 to 10% of their fully developed 100% brain. Does that make any sense to anyone?
No.
What genomes aren't working that keep you from using the rest of it, eh? That's the truth of it. And the truth is hard to swallow. People are afraid of the truth. They can say they aren't, but they are terrorized of it. Because it's subconscious. It's artificially planted there. When we work with the hue, it shuts down those programs so a being can get out and start to remember. It's just that simple. It doesn't give it to them on a golden platter. It does not give them freedom. They have to earn it. They have to work the imagination properly. And beings will help them do that who know how to do it properly themselves. Then they have a connection co-creatively that can help liberate them from this nonsense. They have to be involved so that they can appreciate it as direct experience themselves. It can't just be given to them. Such advanced understanding about the other worlds and out of there and interdimensional doorways and getting into other dimensions, the other bodies you're running on different planes. The nervous system and brain that's grown up on this earth could not survive that. If it was downloaded here, it would short circuit it, fry it. But the being that's running the body can do it and download this a little at a time and readjust the nervous system to handle enlightenment here. That's how it actually works. Actually. Well, you got any other questions, Gail? I know there's a short period of time and I got to get a lot out for people for their benefit. No money involved here. Don't charge for this. It goes on your YouTube channel. You don't pay for the video. They don't go to my websites. They watch these videos I've created at conferences, had a crew record for the benefit of the other presenters and everything else for free. That has been done here. Like the Finland video where I did a presentation where I looked older than I do now, presenting to scientists, a renowned quantum physicists and foremost experts on the fourth phase of water in human beings, like just Jared Pollack. I met with these people. No, they didn't know who I was, but I did a presentation that involved the Hue for them, with them involved. And it helps them. It's only for their benefit. So these things are free when they come to my websites. They watch these videos. They can go watch yours or Perry's on YouTube. You can reach millions of people potentially. No one's shutting down the videos. The military-industrial complex isn't cutting off the satellites. I try to point this out to people over and over again for years. No one's coming to my door, men in black from the secret government saying, stop that, you're telling the truth. No. Because I'm not a threat to them. I am representative of the way out of this for them and for all life here.
This is actually helpful for them.
Of course it is. It's not meant to harm anyone. They know that. They're still afraid to let go. So they're going to get more help at night when they're out of their bodies. I don't care if they're presidents or whoever they are. They're going to be met by people that are uplifting to them, that they can let go. The body's asleep. You know, that the fear that's with that body associated with that upbringing on this planet is left behind, turned off with the body, which is safe, kept running, breathing while you're out. The difference is in these journeys, we're helping people go out consciously and explore the multiverse and recover higher faculties when they return to that body and open its eyes. They do it every night. People on Earth are experts at putting their body to sleep, and they don't even realize what it is they're doing to do that. The brain doesn't put itself to sleep. That thing above your head that's spherical causes the pineal gland, a direct link to the pineal gland in the center of the brain, which is how a being runs a body. And it causes certain rods and cones in there, little switches, to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, kind of the process. And it makes the body and heart and lungs and everything work like in a trance state, very peaceful, restful. The body's in a trance we call sleep while the being goes. On Earth, people are not trained from childhood into adulthood, anything whatsoever about these higher faculties or how to use them. So why would they even know how to bring back awareness of what they do when they're out of the body in the morning when they wake it up?
I just can't imagine how good we would be at that if we were trained ever since we were little.
That's the way people, humans on other planets are trained. It's not like Earth. Now, people are being kept in the dark about all this right now because the ruling forces on planet Earth right now are trying to find their way out of a trap they got themselves into and into a freedom that will be safe for everyone, including them.
I can say that since I started doing these journeys with you, and I do them, you know, again after we've done them, that I notice different programs that I have running, and I'm able to stop myself.
That's a change. Yeah, that's a change in consciousness. You actually have experience. You don't have to continue to agree with seeing fear in the future. Ooh, North Korea is going to bomb us into submission, and then all of a sudden it just goes away. And all that time people spent terrorized of it was for nothing.
It's true.
Literally nothing, but it wasted that much time of their lifetime here on fear. Completely useless. There will come a time when these news programs on Earth that are not free, even in the United States, will start to be different. And that starts with disclosure. And that is part of what is coming this way. It's not the past prophesied destructive Armageddon negative stuff people were brainwashed with here deliberately, going back thousands of years and then off-world, has been permanently altered for the better, not by people on Earth, not by past prophets, not by the religions on this planet, but by vast hosts of beings in other and higher realities and out in space that have, say, discovered a way to change the experiment of evil and retire it like the dinosaur by replacing it with something that actually works. Motivate people to be co-creators with the source and respect all life. That is it. That is our purpose for existing on any world, on any dimension. And that can be underway now for the first time in the lower dimensions, even in the emotional plane, the astral plane, where it's positive and negative there too. It's considered the next heaven above Earth, but it's not a paradise.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that.
Or even the etheric plane is closer to what you would call paradise, but there's still a thin thread of negativity running through that plane too. You get above the void, which some people on Earth think that's it, that's God, there's nothing beyond it. But there is. There's dimensions above that that don't work in matter. It is energy, but it's not nuclear. When quantum physicists and people on Earth begin to understand what this God particle is they're talking about, it fills the void of space. They'll have a change in science like you can't believe on this planet, because they'll be able to connect to it telepathically and get answers about how to travel among the stars way beyond the speed of physical light that they see with their eyes and they think that's a limit. Are they kidding? Are they kidding? No, it isn't. So beings in other worlds that have made advances in space travel and travel around galaxies and go to parallel dimensions all over the place, in craft or out of their bodies, did this by exploring higher dimensions where the science is perfected, and then it's brought down here from a higher understanding. You can't get higher understanding about how to make the physical, how to go around the physical universe from the physical universe. You got to get above it and look down.
That just makes sense.
This is common sense. Obviously, there are races and beings out there much older than anybody on Earth, because Earth's never been a permanent world. You get Lemuria that lasted 100,000 years and was wiped out in 24 hours. Poles flipped. That's got to be recolonized when it settles down by a treaty. And it is. It's not what people think it is. That polar shift that happened every 80 to 120,000 years was discovered under détente with Gorbachev and the US under Reagan. Scientists drilled deep and found out core samples they put in a centrifuge to determine when molten lava cools, it aligns itself with the magnetic field. And they determined at a different depth all over the world in the deepest places that the poles were going 180 degrees opposite of where they are now. Not just the magnetic poles, the physical planet itself and the magnetic poles. That's very destructive when that happens, not to the planet, but to all life on the surface, most certainly. Then they figured as they drilled down more, this became classified right after they announced it on a TV show. The next day, you couldn't even get the recording of the show. They found that it was cyclic. So they classified it. Didn't want to scare people. They were already keeping people from knowing about their association with extraterrestrials, so they classified that too. Earth is not like other planets. It never has been. There's never been, until recently, there wasn't a way for people to evolve on this planet for hundreds of millions of years or more like they do in other worlds, because the poles would keep flipping. The only planet I know of in existence that does that. So that had to be addressed from beyond Earth and stopped permanently, which has been done the last few years. There's not going to be another pole shift here. That's over. So now the Earth is heading in a whole new, unexpected new direction. My work is all about helping people recover the ability to know this for themselves without doubt and fear. What a novel idea. Well,
Wonderful. Thanks.
I think we should go on a little journey then for the benefit of others with your permission.
Oh, for sure.
You get in a chair, you get rested, you lie in a bed, you close your eyes and just think, this is like you know how to do every night when you put the body to sleep. There's not a person on earth, as apparated and unconscious as they may be, that don't know how to put the body to sleep at night, unless they have a medical condition that doesn't allow it or something like that. So everybody's an expert at doing this, but is not aware they are an expert at it. It means the Atma that's running the body knows exactly how to put that body to sleep so it can go out and travel. People do it every night, but they don't have any discipline in using the higher faculties. They've been shut down or shut off or suppressed. So they don't have any way really to confidently bring back awareness to this body when they're out traveling to other worlds or other dimensions as an Atma, as a soul, not a body. So this is a process that people, I'm trying to acknowledge, I'm acknowledging in people that they are experts in putting the body to sleep at night. This means that the brain is not doing it. The Atma is actually causing the pineal gland, the center of the brain, to secrete chemicals which put the body on automatic while you leave. Everybody does it. Suppression of higher faculties, knowing of them, does not destroy them or negate them or erase them. It's just artificially created fear in an artificially created subconscious domain that keeps people terrified of accessing them, remembering them. When you start to become aware of this fact, you already start to overcome from the natural ability as an Atma to dominate any form of negativity, negative misuse of technology off-world or on-world, any negative beings in or out of bodies. You no longer are vulnerable to them because we come from a system that we were in before the lower dimensions of time and space and molecular matter and different dimensional levels were created for us to play in. The idea was to make the lower dimensions mirrors of the upper worlds. That has never been successful. No one's ever pulled it off. The lower worlds are all run there. Everything's in place. Galaxies spin on their axis. Everything works. Interdimensional doorways and all that. But it's not a mirror of the upper worlds where we come from yet. And it won't be until the experiment of evil, which is hundreds of billions years old, is retired like the dinosaur, replaced with this new consciousness, this new ray, and the omnipresent first sound, first word behind all creation, which it now is. Well, the real challenge is to get individuals who don't even remember who they are to become aware of this and co-create with it. That's it. If you can find a place where you're quiet for a bit, and you can be still and take a couple of breaths. Remember, you're imagining out now, all around you, around the body, in little computer disks maybe. Just imagine that somewhere you're putting all fear of the future, fear of your age, fear of life after death, fear of the destruction of the planet, fear of a tyrant God that will throw you to hell if you don't worship it just right, any of that. Just for now, put it aside of your own true free will as a soul, as an Atma. It's going to be there for you to master and take it back when we come back. But for now, put it aside because you cannot take it with you into the other worlds through this process. When I begin to do the hue on different tonal levels, it will shut down the implants in the physical consciousness, the astral, causal, mental, and etheric. And the lives people are running on these planes and don't remember they're doing it as a single soul, a single Atma. Why? To gain the experience mentally, emotionally, and physically on different levels about how to be a co-creator with that source properly. It's the purpose of a human being. Hue man or hue woman or hue anything. The hue opens a door through the pineal gland, connects to the white core of the being you are, and then it connects to the source itself. And it passes through beings who are kind and benevolent and co-creating with it, and they hear it when you do it. They become aware of you on earth, and they can see how stuck you are. And with help, you can begin to get assistance to unravel this tight knot of not knowing. Safest way to do that is when you're out of your body at night, when the body's asleep, when kind beings, some you've forgotten for ages, approach you. And then they begin to provide an uplifting energy. You begin to remember. They provide a safe way for you to learn, and you go back to the body, and your life becomes better balanced through this awakening process in a balanced way. Imagine someone you love and respect, and you're grateful they're in your life. Person, place, or thing. But it's something when you imagine it, you just kind of glow. You're just happy inside. This little guy behind me, he's a wonder. He's an Atma running a kitty body. He's very advanced. He goes with me in journeys even into the upper worlds. And he's not human. When people begin to become aware of this on Earth, this world will transform. We are being offered assistance to make this change safely. Be wise to accept it, because on our own, left without that assistance, we don't have a future here on this world, in these bodies. Okay. I'm going to be sending out these tones. The purpose of this is so that each of you that are consciously co-creating, putting your body in the trance state called sleep right now, before you put it to bed at night, you're going to be hearing my voice, and you're going to be seeing what I'm describing through your own ability to see into the multiverse. This has nothing to do with the brain. The eyes are closed. It's not seeing this. So as you imagine what I'm sharing with you, realize that something else other than the brain or the body is seeing this. We call it imagination. But in reality, it's seeing into the multiverse directly. All novels, all screenplays, all books, all music, inventions, science come from seeing into the multiverse. But people do it unconsciously. They don't know where it comes from. But they can. I'll begin these tones now. You. Being able to run a body or being out of that body in full awareness is easy. Only primary terrorizing subconscious control programs convince people that it's difficult because they're designed people from doing what should be natural and effortless for them. You sit there or lay down and imagine a waterfall cascading down your right side. You're standing in brown moss near a rock wall, and it's just off to your right, and you can feel the mist from the waterfall kissing your right cheek. When you look out over the horizon, you see the sun heading towards sunset, and there's a beautiful blue-green ocean out there, crashing against, several miles away, an emerald green beach. Emerald green. Now you can do this just as easily as you imagine a hummingbird, or being at the beach or in the mountains on a recent trip, or anything that brings pleasant results from what you imagine. You can feel tall lavender grass growing around you, and the tops and bottoms of your palms of your hands can feel the tips of the blades brushing against them. There's a communication, like a little light, an energy field of white light that moves between the blades of the grass and the palms of your hands. And when you look up, you see a beam of white light extending from the top of your head, going into the core of a spherical you in the white core, surrounded by layers of different colors of the spectrum of light. And there are little teardrops in each one of them. Each one's a higher faculty on different levels, out to a golden energy field that surrounds you. This is the real nature of who you are. Looking down, running this body that looks like you, looks physical, but it's really made of energy to look like you. And you're both. You're the body, feeling the mist from the waterfall. You can see a beautiful hummingbird hovering in front of your face, looking into your eyes. And above it is an Atma, like you, running it, just like you. And this bird, this little body, this little advanced nervous system, is talking to you telepathically from the being that's running it. And then you see the body take the shape of a very tall human being, 18 feet tall, kind, long blonde hair, beautiful big eyes, blue, bigger than humans on earth, pointed ears like an elf, standing with sandals in an elegant Greek-like robe, looking down at you. And above that is this sphere that looks just like you. Now, this is a friend. His name is Ambassador Torelli. He is an ambassador from the Say race, probably the oldest race in the physical universes. They didn't originate in the Milky Way or Andromeda, our nearest galactic neighbor. They came here long ago as, I would say, like spiritual scientists, to develop higher genetic body forms that beings like us could run and work through to play in the physical planes, in the lower planes, long ago. And they nurtured these body forms to a point and helped other Atmas be able to run them, to become spacefaring, to travel the stars, even between galaxies, to travel between parallel dimensions, 144 of them, with worlds and people in them, before you even get to a barrier that separates the physical universe from another 144 parallel dimensions that represent the emotional dimension, the astral plane. They did this long ago and then stepped back from involvement with creation to see what we'd all do with it? I think the answer to that is clear. They've recently begun to become involved with races in this universe as representatives of the source itself and representatives of the mechanics of the universe, the beings who actually run galaxies spinning on their axis and suns, nuclear explosions, creating heat, and all that. Those beings, called silent mentors, have really never been involved with the evolution of individual souls or Atmas like us until recently. These are the beings that stopped the polar flips of planet Earth. The Say-Rays didn't do it. They immortalized their physical bodies 1 billion years ago. We get our human DNA from them. Many bipedal races among the stars get their DNA from them for the body forms they run. They have more strands than humans. But when I say they immortalized their bodies, I don't mean they made their bodies to be 36 years old forever. Their bodies as humans are 18 to 25 feet tall compared to humans on Earth. They actually dematerialized those bodies and stored them in an atom, a teardrop within the Atma that they are. And they can manifest a body like he's doing now. You could go up and shake his hand, except his hand's way bigger than your whole body. And you could touch his leg and you'd feel it. And when they're done doing a mission or utilizing that form, it's an extension of the Atma hovering above it. They dissolve it back and they store it. That's true immortalization of a physical form. You use it when you need it. You're not deluded into thinking you're a body. You know very well you're not. He is here to demonstrate that, because now you see this Atma hovering above him, turns back into this little hummingbird, and then it dissolves in particles of white light and is drawn up inside the white core of this being and placed out into the yellow area surrounding the white core and stored there. Now let's get above this planet. It's easy to imagine all this. I'm sharing it with you so you know how to see this place and you can come back here. Without being able to see where you're going in the multiverse or remember it, you cannot get there. Why? Because the omnipresent field of energy that is underneath everything that's not nuclear but is energy is a co-creator with us. And it requires us to put an imagination into it to tell it where it wants it to co-create, where we want to go and what we want to do, good or bad. So you see, thus we need to understand how to use the imagination, discipline it properly. So we only create good, benevolent, uplifting things for all life and nothing else. Otherwise we get ourselves in trouble. Turelian suddenly, as a sphere, darts up through the atmosphere, and you find yourself, myself, Gail, and a number of other beings as spheres floating up through the atmosphere, and you find yourself suddenly orbiting Turelian, surrounding him in a circle in space above planet Earth. But this isn't the Earth you're used to seeing. This waterfall where you were in the emerald green ocean exists on planet Earth in a higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. It is 3 levels up from the planet you're used to seeing here. It is at a faster molecular time rate than this one or the one you're used to. This planet Earth does not have polar ice caps. When you look at it from space, you can see the moon in the same place the moon would be, but it has oxygen and lakes and rivers and domed cities on it, and it's turning on its axis. And you can see right through the planet and see that there's a domed city on the back side. It's not overpopulated. When you look at Earth, you can see beautiful oceans and one huge continent from the left to the right hemisphere centered over the equator that moves a little bit higher above, about 1/3 of the way, and a little bit below. And there's a half-moon base-shaped green emerald beach glowing you can see from space. You were just down there, and there's a snow-capped mountain You can see inland from that emerald green ocean, and you are standing by a waterfall that's cascading down that mountain a few moments ago. You didn't even realize that you're actually capable of seeing and being there, but you are. Your body back on Earth is in the trance state called sleep, same way you do it every night. But in this way, you begin to be aware of other realities you can go to and visit for your own enlightenment, for your own betterment. You can see Turelian hovering as the Atma he is. And then you're going to see 4 different adept teachers, or master teachers. The Atmas look just like us. You'll see they're a little brighter. Their energy is a little freer. And they're going to project a physical form out in front of the being so you can get an idea of who they are, that they're running a physical body somewhere that looks like this. One of them moves towards you. You can see there are hundreds of people now circling in 2 concentric circles around Turelian and these 4 adepts. One of them's a woman. You can see a woman's body, about 36, with honey blonde hair, beautiful eyes, lovely woman, and it's just a physical form that looks like her projected out in front of the sphere, the Atma that she is. One on the left is got a short cropped black beard, short black curly hair, a maroon robe, sandals, and he's holding a crystal staff. It's made of quartz. And it is a device that connects him directly to the source and a student when they're ready. It's one of 3. It has an Ankh on top of it, which is like a cross with a oval symbol with a hole in it. It means really stands for eternity, or the eternal nature of the Atma. And you can see this. Another being approaches, and in front of that sphere, you see a tall man, about 6 feet, pointed ears, pale blue skin. And he holds up his hands, and you can see little webs between them. Now, this being is one of the most advanced races, scientifically and spiritually, other than the Say-Rays, one of the originally founding members of the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which is comprised of many more than 450 million worlds that space frag races. And he's from a planet called Oceania, and that is in the 3rd parallel dimension, in a world on the other side of the galaxy, where this world is that you saw, the Emerald Green Beach, okay? And he's a master teacher. And if you go into the books that I've written and published on this world, you'll find out what their names are. The woman is not in the books. Her name is Katadaki. And I refer to him as Master Ramu because it's an off-world name more ancient than the one he has on Earth. Nopelum, or Master Opelum, is Oceanian. The other being who's a master teacher is not human. He's a dear friend, a very ancient friend of mine. He is a Dren, and you see a little body appear in front of that sphere. About 3 foot long, he's hovering in space. He can walk on all 4s or stand upright. He has a tail that's glowing in like golden light, like crystal opal in sunlight from the root to the tip. And he has strong build, dexterous hands and feet like a human, big bulbous blue eyes, and a little snout that looks like a crease when his mouth is closed. It looks like he's amused about something. Pale green skin. This being is running a higher genetic form that is not human, and above him you can see the sphere running it. He comes from a Dren race, a silica base, not carbon like on Earth. Comes from planet Oceania, where Pelham comes from. They live in a symbiotic, harmonious relationship. The Drens evolved in huge, extinct volcanic caverns, the bottom of the Oceanian oceans. They have self-luminous minerals there and in the plant life that glows. They have a beautiful culture under the ocean and inside these chambers that produce oxygen and filter out carbon dioxide. They live in an ecological wonderland. These beings develop the ability to defy gravity in physical bodies and fly through the air. They have anti-gravity capabilities. So he's showing what his body that he has somewhere looks like. He's telepathic. He has a photographic memory, like normal humans, normal Atmas, I should say. And you can hear him talk to you in your head. He says, hello, my name is Etta. I'm one of these master teachers, and I can help you if you request my assistance. He can help people become respectful and fearless because he's courageous to a fault. Etta would befriend you. If you ever behave, if he's a friend of yours, he would die for you to protect you. He has a wife and 2 children, and he loves them more than people on earth understand how to do it, because he respects all life in the multiverse, human and his own race. So he's a master teacher that helps people learn or rediscover how to respect all life, even the Atmas running animals on earth. Back on earth, animals would stop killing each other, those that do, if humans started setting a better example for them. It's just that shockingly different. When people wake up on earth and recover who they are, the life on this planet as they know it will also be transformed. When you look down from here, you see this emerald green beach down there on the planet. And there's the moon, but it's not the moon you're used to seeing. And we're going to find ourselves as a group of people, these 4 adepts, these master teachers, and myself, and Torellian, and all of you, hovering above this emerald green sand down in a pristine environment, beautiful air. There's no pollution of any kind on this world. It exists where Earth is now in a higher frequency. And it is governed by and maintained by beings who are master adepts and Galactic Alliance personnel to work out ways to not just fix Earth, but other worlds in parallel dimensions as Earth, like as Earth is. And you can see yourself hovering above this emerald green beach that's a half-mile curve like this. And when you look close at the sand, you see that it's made of little transparent gem gray quality little emeralds rounded off by the sea. And it's glowing with about a foot of green light. And you can feel your bare feet sinking down into the sand below the Atma. And you can feel a green energy run up your legs, cool and warm at the same time. It goes into the sphere that you are in the white core of your being, hovering above this body form that looks like you, perfect health, about 36. And it gets put out into the green area of surrounding the white core and turns some of these little teardrops on, higher faculties. And then you see that connect to the physical body back on Earth. Stay here. That's on automatic. It just will go back there. Don't worry about it. And then you see those legs dissolve and come back up into the being that's hovering above the sand. You look out and you can see Torellian standing knee deep out in the ocean, 18 feet tall, smiling. Above him, the Atma, the true soul, the true being. Inland, he points, and you look and you see a 3-foot wide brown moss-covered path leading between giant palm trees and huge prehistoric-looking ferns. And down the distance of this brown path, in about a mile or so, is a white marble floor in a circle about 100 feet across. There's a statue of some kind standing there, with the hands like this glowing green, like the beaches. Just make it out. Further in the background, up the mountainside, are different colored grasses, and up near the top are lavender tall grasses, near a waterfall that's cascading down thousands of feet from a cavern opening 2/3 of the way up towards a snow-covered mountain, a single lone mountain. At the base, further up inland of this mountain, is a completely transparent, clear crystal dome city with 3 golden pyramids and quartz caps on each one. And they're radiating a thin light. In the middle of those pyramids at their base is a long, oval, ivory-colored dome, way down near their base. And you're just finding yourself suddenly hovering above this dome city, looking at this waterfall. And then you can see where you were standing, and a little encropment, a little outcrop with lavender grass around you right next to the waterfall. At the beginning of this journey, you were here already. You look down into the dome city and you can see people walking around in little white marble pathways between small ivory colored domes and lake. Then there's the city proper with crystalline towers like minarets, the 3 pyramids, the ivory colored dome that's in the center, long oval one. And you see 3 disc-shaped blue pads, and there are scout ships from the Galactic Alliance, 30 feet across, blue-green metal, the clear kind of a blue top, 3 semi-sphere pods underneath on 3 extended legs landed there. Now, this is in a parallel dimension on Earth, higher frequency, molecular time rate. And you look down at that a little bit down the mountainside, and you see this statue in this white marble floor clearing, and the moss-covered path that goes to the emerald green beach, and you find yourself suddenly hovering above this statue. And what it is a woman. It's a woman that's made of quartz, perfect, polished, transparent, and big angel-like wings extending out her back. This is not an angelic person, as it's known on Earth. These wings represent the ability of the Atma to fly free of physical form. You can see a golden band around her forehead. Beautiful woman, slightly longer neck and fingers and legs than on Earth. 10 feet tall, standing on a blue square pedestal on top of this white marble floor. Her hands are like this. They're glowing green, and you can see there's an energy beam running from them to that sand, charging it. This was a gift where you got this energy run up your legs and into the being. You're going to bring that back to Earth with you, the world you know. When you look into this elegant dress, you can see there's a woman, a living being, just behind the face of this crystal, staring out at you with violet eyes, pointed ears, long hair that looks like silver metal, and you can reach in with your telepathy and feel that this hair is soft. She's wearing a golden band around her forehead, and there's a teardrop-shaped faceted emerald crystal set in that. And in it, you can see a person, a woman, standing in a green atmosphere somewhere in a dimension between worlds. And you find yourself suddenly passing through this crystal on her forehead. And you're hovering in a circle. Terrellians there, these 4 adepts and Etta, surrounding a woman standing in this green atmosphere in the air. And this is the woman herself. She is from a race called Xentronomus, from planet Xentronomon 1, which is on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. It is a trinary sun system. There's a big sun, a slightly smaller one, and a smaller one that circle the big one. The planets go around it. This planet, full of life and dome cities like this with golden pyramids, is 4 times bigger than planet Earth. The 3 moons that circle this planet have life and domes on them, like Earth, that are as big as Earth, and these are its moons. This woman comes from there, and you can suddenly see yourself in a valley looking at a huge dome city over 3 more gold covered quartz cap pyramids. And when you look up, you can see one of those moons in daylight from the surface of the world, covered with water and land all over it, no polar ice caps, and there are dome cities on it. This is one of their 3 moons, visible during daylight hours. You're standing in a valley floor completely. It's a botanical paradise, perfectly ordered. And she's standing there, and you suddenly find yourself hovering above her, and you find a physical body that looks like you standing there beside her, and she's pointing to this planet. And then you find yourself in this green atmosphere, where she's standing in this atmosphere and you're hovering around her. She's just shown you a homeworld. You find yourself back on the planet, and now you see her husband, a little bit taller than her, and she tells you that these physical forms they run on that planet are 3.5 million years old, unaged. Their genetic science is way far evolved from an understanding of people on Earth, because they don't suffer from the illusion that they are bodies. You find yourself now back in this atmosphere, and there she is standing there. Now her husband's standing there beside her, male, with long silver hair and violet eyes. They did not originate in the Milky Way galaxy. They came from a galaxy 5 galaxies away long ago and established life in this universe. It was their job at the time. When you look above these body forms floating in this gray atmosphere, you see an Atma hovering above them that looks like you, maybe a little brighter, but an Atma. And then you find yourself hovering above this angel statue. It's not an angel, with the crystal wings. And you can see yourself and all of us hovering as spheres of light. And you can see the emerald green beach in the distance. When you look up further inland, you see the snow-capped mountain, the 3 ships parked on landing pads in the domed city. When you look up above the opening where the waterfall comes out, 2/3 of the way up this mountainside, there's a cavern above it. It's an oval cut out with little dome lights leading in the interior. That doorway goes to the interior of Mount Shasta in Northern California on Earth. A direct link, quite protected, between Earth and this parallel dimension on Earth. The continent you are on is called Lemuria. It is not the Lemuria or Atlantis that sank when the poles flipped on the world you're used to. This is the same name, but in a place that was never destroyed, and it's been operated and manned by advanced beings ever since. The endeavors of what they do there in recent years, very few recent years, has changed because of the new ray and the hue. This new consciousness has come down from the upper worlds through the Say rays, which first presented these pyramids and what they do to the Galactic Alliance Council near the center of our galactic core. When you get in space now, you're going to find yourself hovering in space in the void of space. And when you look out and think it's black void with billions of stars, you see that it is not. As the Atma, you see that it is white light with a golden tinge filling everything in the void of space between worlds, between galaxies. In the vastness of space is this field of energy. It is a living, conscious energy we are all connected to and comprised of ourselves. And we have the ability to telepathically link to it, be taught by it, and we have the ability to co-create new ways for its betterment that it does not know yet. This source behind all life does not know the future because all of us collectively make it up, and we're responsible for changing that future into something better than has ever been conceived before. This is what the purpose of these journeys is now. You can see down on Earth, this huge continent, you see in glowing golden letters, Lemuria, Mu. Not the one that was destroyed. This one was never harmed. And it's in a protected place for eons of time, and it is a prototype that will be utilized to change the way Earth is you're used to, and its moon, its barren moon. The moon we have around our planet is not destined to stay like it is now. There are reasons for that. We should have either no moon or more than one. The reason for that is because the tidal forces it exerts on the planet does not turn on its axis, pull on the water in human bodies, and it imbalances them emotionally. You know, like full moon versus no moon, that kind of thing. It's actually very scientific in a way. So there are changes coming to Earth, as you know it. Unexpected things, wondrous things. And we might as well get ourselves in line with this energy and start to consciously co-create with it because we're all involved whether we like it or not. Then you look down and you see an energy field cross over your vision, and now you see the Earth you're used to. Then you see the barren moon with the craters not turning on its axis and our one sun. And you find yourself hovering in the atmosphere as an Atma. Oh, somewhere above where you live, looking down through the house, seeing your body sitting there or lying there. And you stay there and you feel yourself all the way up in this parallel dimension looking at Lemriel, the earth in a higher frequency. You're hovering above your atmosphere on earth you're used to, and then you're hovering above that physical body, looking down on it, smiling kindly. You are doing something with the brain in that body and the pineal gland to download carefully this entire journey, the memory of it, into your physical consciousness on earth that has never been used to this kind of thing. And you see this green energy come down from the green area of the sphere hovering above you. It goes out through your brain, out through your body, and out into the world to benefit others. And this has to do with recall and remembering. When you're ready, open your eyes. That's the beginning ways that people begin to recover while they're awake, when the body's asleep, what they do when they're out of their body, what they can do. The advantage of these recorded sessions is that people can play them back when it's quiet, when they won't be disturbed, and really get into the detail of them again, because they're exercising their highest faculty called direct knowing perception. The ability to telepathically look into the universe and connect with other beings and places and know things. Doubt and fear and speculation and theory are not involved in any way. Now that your eyes are open, you're back on earth, there's all those other fears and things you need to master. They're there, but you don't have to be subject to them. If they turn on and you feel fear and you start getting into thinking negatively and seeing negatively, that's the point at which you have to be aware enough to stop what you're doing. You don't just be passive. You at the very things that are bothering you, palpitations of the heart, nervous system phenomena, anything, people you're afraid of out in the world, send the hue to them for their goodwill. Don't fight it. Turn it around. Send it out. It will change them, and it will send out a field of energy that protects you. It's up to you. It's up to all of us. And this is how we begin to take back control of our own lives and be master over negative things, because the Atma in its original form had this ability. It's not lost, erased, it's just suppressed. We want that to surface. So Gail, you want to say anything else before I end this session for the viewers and listeners?
No, that was just a wonderful journey. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. If people go back in and experience this thing, they can think it's fantasy and they can think it's being made up in their brain, but they know down deep it is not.
No.
The brain has no ability in a human body on earth to imagine this stuff. It just isn't capable of it. The being running the body, on the other hand, can do it effortlessly. I'll leave everybody with that and wish them pleasant dreams.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Gail. All right, I'll stop this now.